Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Μεγάλη χαρά και τιμή να βλέπω ότι υπάρχει μια μεγάλη ανάπτυξη του θέματος του υδρογόνου. Συγχαρητήρια και στον κύριο Γενικό, στον κύριο Ευαλιώτη, για το υψηλό επίπεδο γνώσης. Τα γνωρίζει εντωμεταξύ η πολιτεία, η ελληνική, τα θέματα του υδρογόνου και αυτό με γεμίζει με χαρά, γιατί πριν από 2 χρόνια ήταν διαφορετικά τα πράγματα. Συγχαρητήρια. Συγχαρητήρια και στον Δημήτρη τον Τριανταφυλόπουλο για το μεγάλο ρόλο που παίζει ο ίδιος, αλλά και η Hellenic Hydrogen γενικά. Θα ήθελα να σας ανοίξω λίγο την εικόνα και επειδή βλέπω ότι έχουμε και διεθνούς που θα λάβουν μέρος σε αυτή τη συζήτηση, θα περάσω στα αγγλικά και θα κλείσω μετά στα ελληνικά πάλι. The role of hydrogen in Europe has been settled. It's crystal clear that we will have difficulties to achieve all the climate targets, especially the big target that has been set by old and probably new Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to be carbon neutral in 2050. So this is given. The question now is how big the role will be and how fast the member states will take part in this race. It's a race that also will decide about the future competitiveness of our economies. And I would refrain from comparing countries, but it's obvious that a country that has the size of Greece, like Portugal, is playing a very active role in these matters. It's a country that recently has won quite substantially some bits of the first auction of the European Hydrogen Bank. And this shows that if a policy scheme is interested in hydrogen, it can now prepare, so to say, the preconditions of its own economy for the future. Because, and maybe I would like to start with this first idea, we might have kicked off as Europeans the issue of hydrogen also globally. But the force, the dramatic flow of hydrogen projects outside Europe is absolutely amazing. And Greece is at a very, very important geographical point because most of the efforts, most of the investments into hydrogen at the moment are done in Saudi Arabia, Oman, Emirates, and Egypt. So it's exactly Greece, which is the next big hub for these geographies, being the biggest producer on earth for green, but also other hydrogen by far. So it makes sense to adopt very, very soon a hydrogen strategy in order, well, to position Greece in the right way. What has Europe done? So Europe has done the big European Green Deal Fit for 55 package, 3,000 pages with more than 1,000 mentionings of hydrogen. So the last 5 years have been very, very busy in order to draft the legislation. It's now done. It's ready. We have out of this obligations for member states. So all the member states that use gray hydrogen at the moment, and you do it in refineries, you do it less in Greece in chemical and steel production, but other countries are more affected. There are obligations to replace the gray hydrogen by green hydrogen up to 42% until 2030. That's super fast. The problem is these obligations need to be implemented into national law. And this has not happened yet. And it won't happen if, of course, the preconditions to bring green hydrogen to the affected companies and to have a de-risking scheme is not given. So we cannot expect our industries to adopt these obligations if they are not equipped with a de-risking scheme. And this is something we need to look into. I mentioned the Hydrogen Bank. The first auction with 800 million euro had 132 bidders, out of which 90% were eligible, so were ready to be accepted. This shows the robustness of the European hydrogen sector. There is a big appetite, but also a readiness of industries and technologies to bid and to go. By the way, the Iberian Peninsula by far has won the first race. The price of subsidy for 1 kilo of hydrogen is below 50 cents. You might have seen this. This is a big success. And this shows that people are ready. However, we see already that certain elements of legislation and of regulation, especially the definitions, are too complex. We have this delegated act on renewable hydrogen, so renewable fuels of non-biological origin, that's the whole title, which is extremely complex and which is also extremely difficult to achieve for importers. There's one element which is the so-called hourly correlation, so you can only use electricity from the grid if it's taken from the same hour of production, of renewable production, which brings up the cost of hydrogen five times. And this is not needed. So whatever we hear and people say, yeah, it makes up clean hydrogen, it will destroy the hydrogen sector. So there are also deficiencies of European legislation which we need to look into, especially with the new Commission, and which we need to fix. On the other hand, the Commission prepares at the moment another delegated act on defining low carbon gases. So everything which is not renewable. And here we need to take care that this definition comes fast and that this definition also includes every technology that decarbonizes. So far, they want to narrow it down to nuclear and also to carbon capture sequestration, which is good, it's a good start. But what about pyrolysis? What about the natural hydrogen that has been found in neighboring country of Greece and Albania? We call it natural or white hydrogen. This should be also part of this definition. So let me come to this idea of stopping color discussions. Hydrogen, and Kyrios Aivaliotis, the general director said it clearly, needs to have its own role. But what is the role of hydrogen? There are two roles, and I want to clearly say one role is the decarbonization of molecules. You can and you must, as humankind, decarbonize molecules in order to bring down the CO2 emissions according to the Paris Agreement. And hydrogen has different technologies to do that. And we need to accept this. We have a threshold, which is 3.4 kilo of CO2 for every kilo of hydrogen. And this is the threshold. If you are below, you are low carbon, and every technology should be accepted. We should stop to be technology ideologic. We should be technology diverse. And that's why we call this the end of the color code, the end of the rainbow. We should decarbonize. That's one thing. The other thing brings me to the blackouts that you described in Greece, but not only in Greece, we have blackouts all over the world because of the intermittent effect of renewables. It's fantastic what Greece has achieved with regards to more renewable energy, especially solar in Greece so far. So congratulations to the Greek government. This is really an achievement. As you know, I'm Greek and German, and I would like to describe the German experience with one example, and then I also come to an end.
Κύριε Χατζημαρκάκη, αν μπορείτε να ολοκληρώσετε, σας παρακαλώ.
Σε ένα λεπτό, σε μισό λεπτό. The Germans have last year had 40% of renewables in power production. But the flip side is that the costs of curtailment and grid management in order not to have blackouts was 11 billion euro. And here you see immediately what happens. We need to ramp up the power grids, but the cost of this are 10 to 20 times more than ramping up the grids for molecules. And here's where hydrogen can help. It can create flexibility by storage and by cheap transport capacities. Ολοκληρώνω εδώ. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Δυστυχώς δεν μπορώ να παραμείνω. Αλλά... Ναι.
Δεν θα παραμείνετε, λέτε.
Δεν μπορώ σήμερα γιατί έχουμε επισκέψεις εδώ. Αν υπάρχει μια ερώτηση που μπορώ να απαντήσω αμέσως, θα το κάνω. Απλώς σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για την ευκαιρία.